The fall of Jericho is one of the most impressive and significant narratives in the Old Testament. This event took place during the conquest of Canaan under the leadership of Joshua, the successor of Moses. After crossing the Jordan River, the Israelites faced the challenge of conquering the fortified city of Jericho, a powerful stronghold with high and thick walls. Jericho was not only a strategic city, but also a symbol of the resistance that the Israelites would face in their mission to take possession of the land promised by God. Joshua, a brave and faithful leader, was determined to fulfill the divine command to conquer Canaan, and he knew that the fall of Jericho would be crucial to the success of his campaign. The city was on high alert, aware of the imminent threat posed by the Israelites. However, Joshua did not rely on conventional military strength. God had given him an extraordinary plan to bring down the walls of Jericho, a plan that would require absolute faith and total obedience. This story highlights not only the faith and courage of the Israelites, but also God's sovereignty and his ability to accomplish the impossible. As we explore the fall of Jericho, we will see how the unwavering faith of a leader and the obedience of the people resulted in a miraculous victory, demonstrating that, with God, nothing is impossible. Get ready for an inspiring journey through the events that led to the fall of one of the most fortified cities of antiquity. After the death of Moses, Joshua was appointed by God as the new leader of the Israelites. With immense responsibility on his shoulders, Joshua needed to guide his people to the promised land of Canaan. God encouraged Joshua, saying, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." This promise gave Joshua the confidence he needed to lead the Israelites. The first major obstacle on their journey was the city of Jericho, known for its impregnable walls. Joshua knew that the conquest of Jericho was essential to pave the way for the rest of Canaan. With unwavering determination and faith, he began planning the strategy, knowing that success would depend on complete obedience to God's instructions. To understand the city and its defenses, Joshua sent 2 spies on a secret mission. Their task was to gather vital information about Jericho and bring back a report that would help in the conquest. These spies faced many dangers, but their success would be crucial to Joshua's mission. The 2 spies sent by Joshua infiltrated Jericho and found refuge in the house of Rahab, a prostitute who lived on the city wall. Rahab recognized the spies as men of Israel and, aware of the fame of their God, decided to help them. She hid the spies in her house, protecting them from the king of Jericho's soldiers who were searching for them. In exchange for her help, Rahab asked that her family be spared when the Israelites attacked the city. The spies agreed and gave Rahab a sign: a scarlet cord that she should tie in her window, ensuring that everyone inside her house would be saved. With Rahab's help, the spies managed to escape and return to Joshua with valuable information. They reported that the people of Jericho were terrified and that the city was ready to be conquered. Rahab's act of faith not only saved her family, but also placed her in the lineage of Jesus, showing how God uses unlikely people to fulfill his purposes. With the information brought by the spies, Joshua was ready to act. God instructed Joshua to follow an unusual plan to conquer Jericho. He ordered the Israelites to march around the city once a day for 6 days. 7 priests carrying ram's horn trumpets were to lead the procession, followed by the Ark of the Covenant. On the 7th day, they were to march around the city 7 times, and at the end of the 7th lap, the priest would blow the trumpets, and all the people would shout with all their might. Joshua conveyed these instructions to the people, emphasizing the importance of following exactly what God had commanded. Despite the strangeness of the plan, the Israelites trusted Joshua and, more importantly, trusted God. Their obedience would be tested, but they were determined to follow the divine orders, believing in God's power to give them victory. For the next 6 days, the Israelites faithfully followed God's instructions. Every morning, at sunrise, they lined up and began the march around the city. The inhabitants of Jericho watched in perplexity and fear as the Israelite army, led by the priests and the Ark of the Covenant, silently circled their walls. There were no attempts at attack or escalation, just a silent and continuous march. This daily ritual increased the tension within the city. The inhabitants were increasingly convinced that something extraordinary was about to happen. For the Israelites, each daily march was an exercise in faith and discipline. They were being tested in their obedience and patience. The anticipation grew each day, but Joshua and his people kept their faith, believing in God's promise to deliver Jericho into their hands. The silence of these daily marches was a prelude to what was to come. Finally, on the 7th day, Joshua and the Israelites rose at dawn and began the march around Jericho. Unlike the previous days, on that day they circled the city 7 times. The silence of the previous days was replaced by the tension and anticipation that increased with each lap. At the end of the 7th lap, the priests blew their trumpets, and Joshua gave the order for the people to shout. With a mighty roar, the Israelites let out a war cry. At that moment, something miraculous happened. The walls of Jericho began to tremble and collapse. The towering walls, which seemed invincible, crumbled before everyone's eyes. The Israelites, full of faith and courage, stormed the city. The fall of the walls of Jericho was not just a military victory, but a testimony to God's power and the importance of obedience to His word. The city was taken, and as promised, Rahab's house was spared, marking God's faithfulness in fulfilling His promises. With the walls in ruins, the Israelites entered the city and took complete control of Jericho. Joshua gave clear orders for the city to be completely destroyed, except for Rahab's house and her family, as promised by the spies. The treasures of Jericho were dedicated to the Lord, and the city was burned. This event marked a significant turning point in the conquest of Canaan. The news of Jericho's fall spread quickly, instilling fear in the hearts of the other inhabitants of Canaan. They realized that the Israelites were not alone. The God of Israel was fighting for them. The victory at Jericho was a powerful testimony to God's faithfulness and the importance of following His instructions, no matter how unusual they seemed. For the Israelites, it reinforced the need to continue trusting in God in all their future battles. The story of Jericho is a classic example of how faith and obedience can lead to miraculous results. Joshua and the Israelites followed God's instructions to the letter, without question or deviation from the plan. This unwavering faith resulted in the fall of one of the most fortified cities of antiquity, without the use of conventional military force. The preservation of Rahab and her family is a reminder of God's mercy and justice. Even amidst destruction, those who recognize and fear God are saved. The story also teaches us about the power of a community united in faith. The Israelites marched together, trusted together, and won together. For today's times, the fall of Jericho encourages us to trust in God, even when His instructions do not make sense to us. It reminds us that with faith and obedience, we can overcome seemingly insurmountable obstacles and witness God's miraculous power in our lives. The fall of Jericho is more than a simple military victory. It is a testimony of faith, obedience, and divine power. This story shows us that when we follow God's instructions and trust in His wisdom, we can achieve the impossible. Joshua and the Israelites teach us that true strength comes from unwavering faith in God and obedience to His words. The preservation of Rahab reminds us that God's mercy is extended to all who recognize and fear Him, regardless of their past. In a world where we face challenges and our own walls, the story of Jericho encourages us to maintain our faith and follow divine directions with courage and determination. The lessons learned from Jericho continue to resonate, inspiring us to trust in God's power to bring down any barrier in our path. Thank you for watching another video about the fascinating story of the fall of Jericho. We hope this narrative has inspired you to reflect on the importance of faith and obedience in your own life. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more biblical stories that bring valuable teachings to our daily lives. Leave your comment about what impacted you the most in this story and which other stories you would like to see here. Like and share with your friends so that more people can be touched by these powerful messages. Until next time, and may God bless you all.